Have you ever had a build idea in your brain that you've never been able to bring into your Minecraft world? I spent the last 2 years trying to find a way to build a university in this city. With over 400 hours spent mocking up different designs, I finally found something that I love. Today we are putting over 100 hours into building the fWhip University. Click the like button if you're excited, and please consider subscribing if you enjoy the video. This is the City of Path, a medieval fantasy city I've been building over the last 2 years. We are currently building the largest expansion to the city with the fWhip University. This first started with needing to create University Street, a road connecting the main routes throughout the city up to the university itself. I didn't want just another floating road here, so I took the time to complete the structures along the edge of the entire road, building another 13 houses for Path, which creates a very fun atmosphere to be able to walk through the city that is really feeling full and lively as you wander around. That is until you can see the end of the street and nothing sits on top. Meaning it's time to put together over 12,000 different blocks to build up the front gate of the university, which is going for a very earthy toned build palette to match the city walls and gates that we already have. The entrance is a large archway as a way to invite visitors and show that this is all about the plants. I tried to make this not feel overgrown, but still very much in tune with nature from a glance, as I thought covering the entire thing in leaves would hide a lot of the work that I put into detailing and texturing this to make it to be super special. We do need more than just a gateway, so I am stacking up a huge domed roof behind it, reaching high into the sky to really add to the skyline of the city, which is also expanding sideways with an outdoor walkway, all bringing the vision of this entry being something grand and a big wow factor that I think is serving its purpose pretty well. As we walk up the street, it feels so massive. Inside, I even had space to throw in a custom tree as a central point, showing that this is the fWhip University, looking grand and so very big from across the harbor. This central tower is fully decorated with an interior and a ton of study space, and a happy gas who I accidentally trapped in here up top. But hey, we got tables. You can enroll today for the inaugural class of 2025 at the fWhip University. I have new merch. This hoodie right here is available for a limited time only through the link in the description, so be sure to pick up a fWhip University hoodie to commemorate the grand opening of the school that I'm so extremely excited to share with you all. These will ship before the holidays, so you can get your gift shopping done early. The fWhip University is not a real university, but I can give you cool build tips still in the comments, but you should totally buy my merch. Okay, thanks. With every order, we will be planting a tree IRL, so help us create a fWhip University forest in the real world. Well, I'd love to get right into building the next segment of the university. I have an important side project to complete. You might remember I laid out hundreds of copper trapdoors to age, and it took over 4 hours. I don't have time to do that again, and I need a lot more aged copper trapdoors. Now, underneath the copper factory in the industrial district, I have a large open chamber carved out for aging copper blocks that works decently well for full blocks. However, since I built this, Minecrafters have been cooking up new copper aging tech to make it go even faster. By putting regular copper next to oxidized copper, the regular copper will oxidize faster. So I'm replacing the floor with oxidized copper to speed it up. We can also use a chunk loader to oxidize copper. In Java, this used to require a player to be within 128 blocks of the copper. Now it just needs to be in a loaded chunk. So by putting ender pearls in all 6 of the boxes I've cut out, we can chunk load this entire room to make sure the copper is always aging, then replacing the floor with our oxidized cut copper all the way across to finish the bottom room. I repeated this up top and started to place down a ton of copper trapdoors to oxidize. I did use almost all of my copper supply, so I'm really hoping this worked well. It's been a little over an hour since I finished building this, and oh my god, I'm so happy right now. Okay, so the full thick like that seems to be a little slower. You can see the unaged one and it dithers out from there, getting more and more aged. Looks like putting the 1 block gap in between it really speeds it up. And downstairs has been going even longer, and oh yes. Oh yes, happy fWhip, happy fWhip. Oh yay, this is great. They're not quite all there yet, but they're getting there. And now, just like I hope to be getting into the build soon, I have all of these shulker boxes from last episode that I still need to clear out, so I'm gonna deal with that to start with a clean slate before I start putting together the 45,000 blocks I need today. It's just a few. I have many hours of resource gathering ahead of me, and deep slate mining is one of the most boring parts of it. So, well, I'm still excited to get into this and not just wanting it to be done. I jumped down into the mines to start picking up deep slate while looking for blobs of tuff to mine up, as I need a few thousand of each. Right outside of the mine, I jumped into the quarry with an inventory full of shulkers to start packing away everything that I could to start clearing out some parts of this crazy long resource list that I have in front of me. I've already filled over 10 shulker boxes with different materials from the quarry, so to get them just out of my inventory, I'll set them all down here at the university. As next up, I need a lot of emeralds, so I'm making a trip through the nether to visit the gold farm, well, rotten flesh farm, as that's pretty much all that it makes. But that is extremely helpful here, as it's just a short journey back to Tuff Hall where I can trade away the rotten flesh for a ton of free emeralds. All of these shulker boxes of rotten flesh have been emptied and turned into emeralds, and hopefully that's enough. Really sad when you get 2.5 stacks out of all these boxes. Along the way back, I stopped by the dirt storage warehouse to craft down over 4,000 packed mud and mud brick blocks and grabbed a little over 2,000 different dirt materials for building out platforms and texturing all of our walls a little bit more. Thankfully, we also had enough emeralds from the villager trading a bit ago to grab over 2 shulker boxes of brick blocks too. Next up on the list, I went to the lumber mill storage room and stripped down all of the logs I should need and got to work crafting the rest of the stuff. I did run out of jungle wood and dark oak wood, so that meant a quick trip to the nearby forest to grab a few stacks of each of them. We are making good progress as my shulker monster is growing a ton here. I've got all of my dark grays, we've got all of our bricks and others, and then we have all of our sandstones and our dirts and our muds over here, and then we can start a new line right over here for all of our different wooden materials. Yay! I'm starting to get to the point where I have to go out and gather materials, as I have one more storage room to really stop my still. Wait, no, 2. I got copper stuff that I can pick up also. But first up, down into the foliage market. Yes, of course we're stopping here when we're building the foliage university. I need so many plants. Birchy Reeves, Oak Reeves, Azalea. Oh man, I gotta go gather more. Well, at least I had every other leaf type that I need. A few more plants picked up with pretty much a stack of every flower that I have, and that should do it. We can always come back for more. Being the foliage university, I really want a lot of greenhouses scattered around for growing plants, so I need a load of glass to fill in all of those walls. On top of that, I've been making a ton of progress running around grabbing a bunch of little things here and there. Next up, we just need to get a ton of copper stuff, some dead coral, cactus flowers, and azalea leaves, and I'm almost out of unexposed copper. Okay, let's take these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, I never use these. Let's just grab more. And taking a quick trip down into the villager trading cave to visit the super smelter, which should be full of fuel still. Yes, it is. So we can just start throwing in all of this raw copper, which will fill both double chests, and that can smelt down into a ton of copper ingots. Well, that's going. I'm gonna start crafting the rest of it. By crafting the rest of it, I mean first mining up my crop of trapdoors that have aged down. I still had more time to kill, so I did then finish up crafting up the rest of it, minus a few more goodies where hopefully our copper's aged down. Not aged down, smelted. It's really early in the morning. Looks like it's still coming through, but that is a load of copper. First up, we need 60 trapdoors, and then I need multiple stacks of lightning rods. Right, just gotta wait for the last few to come through, but that's almost everything crafted down to. Last episode, I set up a path of azalea saplings, and I still need those leaves that I couldn't get earlier, so I'm growing a few more trees to soak touch and gather up the leaves. This is an absolute mess of shulker boxes up here. Oh my gosh, this is huge. I'm also almost out of rockets, and everything else that I need is way out to the west in the deserts of New Papyrus. So I'm gonna quickly see if I have any gunpowder sitting in the gas farm storage system, and that should make a shulker. Oh, there's paper in here too. Yeah, that'll keep me flying. Out in the desert, I quickly got distracted with a side quest that required some fish, as I found a cat stuck in a hole that needed to be rescued. Safely dropping the cat off in New Papyrus, I ran around punching cactus to steal their flowers and replace the cactus back down to hopefully find more flowers growing here later. Jumping out into the coral reef in front of New Papyrus, I grabbed a few stacks of dead tube coral blocks and some of the big coral as well to bring back for decorations as the last items of the entire list that I need, which turned into this teeny tiny little itty bitty shulker monster that isn't stressing me out at all to have to be emptying everything. So I think it's perfect time for a distraction. I mean, it's time to plant a field. Or well, today we're planting a lot of little fields. Last episode we planted an orchard for the students studying trees. Today we're planting a ton of little gardens of flowers all over for the florists to spend their days learning everything about our beautiful plants, as each little field adds together to create a big field. Just like each subscriber adds up to create a huge community. So subscribe and help grow our community here on YouTube. Anyways, going for a terraced farmland vibe here, we are able to see each plot of flowers from the valley below as they slowly grow up the cliffside around the road. We're even bringing in some dwarven magic to add a windmill to power a definitely real sprinkler system up here. I definitely got carried away on this one with all of the garden space. We have this right back in here, which is looking beautiful. A little garden here. We got a custom tree. We got a little pergola? I can't remember. Anyways, glowberries hanging, spore blossoms, pretty flowers. A little well so we get some water in here. And then we get into every single type of flower in Minecraft outside of the wither rose, as I'm going to put those down with all of the mushrooms and everything, as I think it makes more sense with all our nether plants. We've even hidden some coral in here for some big pops of color. The windmill that I mentioned looking so cool with the 3 blades in here to power our sprinkler system, as a way to explain how all this stuff definitely stays very watered and hydrated and big, beautiful flower blooms all the time. You got a ton of greenery scattered around with all these different bits over here throughout, even sunflowers on this side, seeing where the sun rises from, right up there. Perfect for growing the sunflowers. This connects fully in with our closed eye blossoms in there, a little bit of shade underneath that tree as we move into where the orchard was, fully linked up with at least all of the grass below. Still need a big old tower here, but first I want to focus on a few more of the I just sat here for like 2 minutes trying to think of the word. A few more of the logistical elements of the university, like how to get around. Walking in the back gate, we have a bit of work to do, so this actually connects to a road. I picked up some stone, andesite, moss, and tuff to build out the flat central gardens area that we can use to walk around the space, as I want the fancy feel of a large flat space compared to all of the crazy height of the city that is needed to get here. Speaking of the crazy height, I'm also flattening part of the snow mountain to make space for more buildings. But before we jump out to create some of those larger buildings, I thought it could be fun to add in a gazebo in the middle of the space for people to be in the shade while enjoying the gardens or hopping between classes. Okay, I've been a little bit busy adding in a lot of the flower beds around the space, and it's starting to look really magical, regardless of not having any buildings out here. But boy, oh boys, we got flowers, we got glow lichen and leaf litter, little carpets of things. We've got benches all over the place. This is some lawn where people might be able to sit in compared to the more manicured gardens with all of the rose bushes and everything. Something about rose bushes to me feels very university. So I added a ton of those in around here. We'll get some more custom trees like there and there. But inside we have this little obelisk statue with our acacia sapling, a spore blossom up top, and more importantly, this connects all the way out to the back road that we built up with the gardens. Now, this right in here is going to be a fountain. The problem is that this fountain is actually in a snow biome. So I've got to be really quick about how we detail this to make sure that we have blocks all the way around so that it doesn't just freeze. So we'll add a little flowing water in there. Yep, see, it's already turning to ice. But if we break these, we can add seagrass along the edges, and that stops the ice from forming. I'm gonna need a lot of seagrass. I even use a few small drip leaf throughout here, and then we can add some lily pads going around too. Just give it like a really fun space. Unfortunately, a lily pad is on top of the water, so the ice can still form below. So I added some glow lichen, so it's not all just seagrass going around. And then we've got that along the edge, and this shouldn't be able to freeze over, I hope. I figured since we have worked on the pathways leading to the back gate, I can jump into building up that part of the university first, starting with a large deep slate wall that will hold up a greenhouse next to the gate. I know a university wouldn't normally have a big defensive gate, but in the lore, this used to be the palace for the ruler of Path before it was converted into a university. And being on the edge of the city, I figured it would also make sense to have some defensive structures to show this used to be the northern gate into the city itself. So a lot of that was taken down, but we can retrofit the gate to be something that will fit into the university vibe now. Going for a pretty classic top like I've done throughout the rest of the city, we have the diorite machicolations coming in and sandstone towers on either side as guard stations. Of course, adding the staple deep slate roof on top of the turrets and the main towers. Then to make it a touch more welcoming, I'm adding a big arch of leaves going around the entire thing. I've also got the pillars in for where the greenhouse is going to go right over there, but first we need the big old structure behind it. I am, however, really happy with how we can walk into the university. Already coming up this back road feels so fun, and we just need to finish off the vibe right in here. I am thinking a few trees like right over on this side to kind of block the blurred line, well, to blur the line from where it goes into grass into snow until I can figure out what I want to do here. I think it might just help with the vibe overall. But I need to focus inside the university. Can't be focusing outside when there's a lot to do inside. Not really much of it inside right now. This next building is going to hold a large classroom or two inside of it, so we need a lot of interior space and a lot of height for more light to be able to come in through the windows. Also, as a tiny side thing, the stairs up into the gatehouse needed a little wall to fill in an open gap, so I threw in this cactus flower bus shrine thingy. It's a very technical term, you probably wouldn't understand it, but I do now have the windows in going around this, and I think it's creating a cool circular effect at the end here, so it's looking really good for the space. We'll tackle the roof on top of there soon, but I wanted to extend out a bit of a balcony right for this, where it's kind of a boxy structure coming out. And I started working at this point up here, and I was like, I could probably show how this comes together. So I wanted to create a bit of a mosaic-y design of sorts, where we're gonna alternate between green glazed terracotta that is gonna be a pain in the butt to get situated in here, but I wanted to extend it coming up to about this height. I've got them a little bit more situated now with it kind of curling around for the texture on thing. And then down here, just got some light up here. We have our glow lichen. And then I want to move into mossy cobblestone, tough. This one's going to be mossy tough, creating a bit of a pattern that's going to go all the way across. And then at the top, I want to bring these guys in, and we can add in our jungle fence gates. Bring it all together a little bit more. A little bit of our weathered texture going around here, and then we're going to bring in the waxed weathered copper bulbs, which are going to go in right above that point, and I feel like that's looking pretty sweet. Underneath that piece of decor, I'm finishing the archway with our tough and then darker brown colors to create multiple layers for the doorway. Off to the far side now, over here, we've got these open archways leading into the classrooms, as this is meant to be more of a hands-on learning environment, where this will be one of our greenhouses that students will be able to study in. We are taking the green quite literally, while using lime stained glass here, and then I want to, no, that meant to be a stair, stack this up a few times so we can get a good angle coming in, and we'll just smooth it out for a flatter top section here. Add some additional bracing going along this, where we can bring in some of our warp trap doors so we can still kind of see through them, and repeating that same arch right over here. Most of the greenhouses around here are going to have different themes to them. This one I think actually is going to be more of just a generic, just all different types of plants out here, I think is my current idea. But they're all going to look pretty similar from the outside, as I just need to fill in the last little bit of this glass. And there we go. That's everything for the outside. And now I need to go grab something. As in the Dwarven District, I used a pretty cool way to light these things up. I just need to remember where I put the items. This isn't a mess. No, totally not a mess. There we go. See, I knew exactly where they were. Oh, by the way, there's a roof on the bottom layer now. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Now, on the inside, we need to light this up, but I thought we could use the idea of the sunlight lighting up most of it. And then in order to make this thing work all the time, that right there would mean it's on during the day, but we can just right click these and they become nightlight sensors. And then we could bottom it with some acacia trap doors. And if I do one there and one right here, this should hopefully actually be able to light up the entire space for mob spawning. If not, we'll just throw some plants in to help with that. With another sprinkler system placed in here, this is looking ready for some plants. But first, let's finish the building. With the final layer on top, I want to extend our roof up again, creating something you might see on like a cathedral with the extra layer, really emphasizing the windows before bringing it all together with a deep slate roof topped with our iron bars and candles. Complete with a new tower standing tall on the outside corner with a small statue placed instead of another window. Back in the courtyard, I have wanted to add a big custom tree here. Being in the mountain biome, I mixed in some pale oak leaves to help give it some more character. Of course, we also have a little buzzy bee hanging out up here in the tree. I swear there is one in that hive. I've seen him flying around, but he doesn't want to come out today. But give me some name ideas for him. I definitely envision him as somebody who is well loved by all of the students as he flies around the gardens, flapping around all the way up here as the students are walking between classes. Oh, there he is. I told you. Look at him. Oh, he's so cute. No, don't get stuck in the tree. Why would you get stuck in the tree already? Okay. Yeah, he's not stuck yet. He's gonna get stuck up there. He's definitely getting stuck. Yeah, he's okay. Maybe the students love him because he's a little derpy. That could be it. One last element before we jump on to the next structure. I want the skylights up here to look a little bit more fancy. So I was thinking we could just add glow lichen along the entire inside as if it were like an etching, which also is going to provide a little bit more of that glow coming out from the building too, which I think can be kind of cool. I'm trying to think of little details that can make the spaces just that much fancier. And yeah, I think that actually kind of worked. Across the street, I want to move into more student living spaces. This first building will be a kitchen, primarily with a classroom inside for farmers, as they'll work hand in hand with people preparing food. Then I have something really fun planned for a rooftop balcony. Just the base is in here, and I already love walking through here. This tree is just made it feel super magical by giving the shade, so we get our fireflies floating around all the time. We get the fallen leaves coming in and just hanging out in here. Give it a minute to warm up, get all the particles around, and I think we're not even getting honey dripping from the hive. Oh, vibes are great. They're immaculate. But it's time to continue the next layer, as I want to change things out. Before, we had our brick and everything down at the base, and I've been using sandstone to kind of top off buildings that you can see, so I thought we could bring that into here. For another 5 blocks coming up, and ORB is loving it. Look, he's dancing. Sorry, distraction. It's okay, it's totally fine. But next to that, we also have the bone blocks for a little bit of highlight, and then get some of our smooth sandstone, and we'll do like a big window right in here. And I think I want some birch. That brings us to here, where we can do some slabs out. I'll get some leaves like cascading down over the corner along this pole. But inside of here, I thought we could go back into our light gray and our gray like we've done up top in those points, and bring them in here for this little checker. And that's looking pretty good. Let's continue this across. Tossing a mangrove door in right up here, like that. It's going to be able to finish off this layer going all the way around. I've finished wrapping that off, and then I have also added in on top of this granite, we have our buttons and flower pots. Yeah, right back up there. I did also come through and add these chimneys that we still need to texture up and get looking real nice, but this is the space where the kitchen's going to go, kind of occupying right in here, as eventually the dining hall is going to be the big building stretching along the edge over there. So I wanted that clean shot right through for all the food to be carried in. Next up, I was thinking about the farmers. They probably want a little like herb garden or something right in front, and I did gather some carrots and potatoes. We're right around this little tiny corner. I've got all this dirt that I have already come through and added in the water sources, which is great. And it looks like I am going to need to add some bricks below all of that. So I'm going to go through and just do alternating lines of our carrots and our potatoes going throughout this little stretch, just as a tiny little pop of green for a garden. And I still have plenty of bricks, so we can hide that along the bottom. Yeah, just gonna do a little right back in here. Yep, that looks so much cleaner. And that'll even hide the little blue from the water as soon as all of these grow up. Okay, for that fun element on the roof that I was talking about, yeah, it's another greenhouse. And I want to turn it into one where the farmers can be growing foods in here. So everything we plant inside this greenhouse will all be edible foods in Minecraft, which should be a fun challenge. But we do need the big dome and lighting in first. So not only do we have our night lights and our sprinkler system in, we also have heating vents. With the kitchen down below, we have a very true Minecraft mechanic here, where we pump in the warm air that you can see from little campfires that I hid underneath. It's definitely a real Minecraft mechanic that'll make all of our plants in here grow so much faster. Yeah, so real. Very, very legit and so real. Over in the corner, you may have noticed the base of a tower popping up where I decided to add in another sandstone and deep slate roof to it. Yeah. We've made a ton of progress on the space already, from my barren land on the northern side to developing the gatehouse and now the full kitchen space that has been really bringing the vibes that I want into the university, just filling it with life. But my goal today is to finish the entire upper section of the school. Looking from above, we still have two major gaps to connect everything together. We've already been working along this way, linking towards our grand entrance tower, so let's continue along with that with our library and student dorms at the top of these stairs. But first, for a shulker monster update, I've managed to clear out 7 complete boxes of stuff from here, so it's starting to look a little bit better for the mess. Still a mess, but slightly less of a mess. You know what? Life goals. One of my other big life goals right now is finishing the university, so it's time to get a heck of a lot of building done on this space, as we have the first wall coming together for the library building and some student housing. I really like the idea of this being an open space, so I'm not adding an actual door to the structure, just another big archway with tuff sunken in to reinforce the archway and make it pop even more. Popping up top next, I want to add in a big stained glass window with some copper bracing and bringing the roof up to a point. Along the back, I want to mimic the glass window, but since we don't have an archway, I'm also adding another larger one below to really shine. With all of the walls completed, it's time to bring in the deep slate roof again on top for the theme of the entire university that we have going so far, this time with an even steeper arch to it. I want to also add in some skylights to bring in more natural light back down into the building, as I'm doing this in most spaces where I can. With the roof done, we can finish off this central gardens with another birch tree coming up hiding one of the more bare walls that we just made. The center, though, is now looking pretty awesome, but we still have quite a few open gaps that need structures in order to lock all of this in for the full school vibe walking around. At the end here, I want to build a large dining hall, going for the vibe of a ballroom, so we need a big extended foundation. Then I want to stack this up to be pretty tall, again with large windows shining light in through the upper levels, as this was likely the palace ballroom before the university took over and converted it here into a dining room for the students. Wrapping around to a curved end on the building as it sticks out from the overall structure, so I didn't want it to be too in your face, and I think the curve is just a little softer. With the main structural walls in place, we can start filling in the roof along the back, as most of this is actually going to be a rooftop garden now to change up from the peaked roofs that we've used everywhere else. And of course, we need our skylights into the dining room below. It felt a little too flat though, and I want to add another small tower on top to be some sort of a more open greenhouse space, potentially for growing saplings. The roof coming in made it super dark inside, but I added in this little statue of sorts, and I want to add some glow lichen up here just to make it pop a little bit more before we get to the rest of the interior, as one final big build is needed to close in the structure. So I really want to add another greenhouse, as I want it visible from the city, and this felt like the perfect spot. Walking up University Street now, and it feels so much more full for the foliage university, and I'm really loving, gotta get back to this house, the dining hall showing right up there with the lime stained glass of the greenhouse and it just stacking up behind the trees. It's feeling so cool, and a good sense of depth with this being so close and that being just a little pushed back but still prominent, so it feels super tall up here. The silhouette along the front is looking really cool too. I definitely want to add some trees up here in the top and turn this into a much more of a garden space, but for now it's looking really cool. And thankfully fills in this corner right over here pretty well too, but we've got ourselves one big gap left over here to be filling in to finish off the university, as we've got 2 more structures, one big tower right there and another big tower right in here. The final building here is going to be another large circular tower, a similar size to the main entry, but I do believe this mathed out to be slightly smaller. I'm going for the same palette idea as we move from our tuff into our mud into our bricks, really showing that this is an older structure and has a lot of weathering on it. The largest ring at the bottom does need some windows before I start to bring the structure back in a touch and move into a smaller upper floor, so I am repeating the same idea with sandstone and grates going around with leaves for the pop of green. Finishing that roof layer, I added in another skinnier cylinder sticking up reaching higher into the sky to just add to the silhouette again. and taking the same tower point from our first tower to top off the entire thing and really bring home the cohesion in for the university. Okay, I'm walking back in along the road outside the city, and yeah, that was so worth adding in. But actually peeking up behind the tree, the little bit of the new fog that we get with Minecraft, adding a little bit of a wash to it. Oh, it looks so good mimicking the main tower. That is just absolutely so grand from down here. Oh, I'm really happy with how this is all coming together. It's looking so good. We are almost through with the third elytra, so that's causing a wee bit of an issue. And as mentioned, we've got another tower to go right out here that's going to be leading with a bridge right across this way. Quick update on the shulkers. We now have 12 shulkers completely emptied, and I need to grab a bunch more stuff as we're going to be working with a bit of our cobbled deep slate in here. We need a regular deep slate and a whole load of tuff to be able to build out this bridge. When I originally came up with the idea for the fWhip University, I was playing a lot of Elden Ring, and that game is full of over-dramatic, large-scale architecture that just makes the player feel like the world is so much bigger than they are, and I thought we could take that idea into account for this bridge reaching across to what is going to be the Headmaster's tower and living quarters right here. But this is looking so great when we're walking through the garden. I love how tall that is above where the player stands down here. This is starting to feel pretty surreal as we're moving into the final steps and the final structure building up the fWhip University. I've been working up to making this thing for so dang long, and to finally be in the home stretch of it, it's so fun. I'm feeling so excited to have this thing wrapped up. We'll definitely be making it in time for the class of 2025 grand opening, so you obviously got to get your back to school shopping done and grab a hoodie if you want to study Minecraft plants. Yeah. But enough of the merch promo aside, the last tower comes together here as the residence for the head of the school. I want to give them a large enough space to live inside that they could not only have a bedroom, but also space for hosting guests and a private space for research and school studies, showing they're not only just a figurehead, but also somebody who's incredibly invested in the fWhip University. So much so that they have this entire tower to themselves, and it's probably the best view in town, even with a private garden on top for them to hang out in. But they do have to share it with some birds that I added up above through a mess of dirt scaffolding. I'm on my third set of elytra, and they are also almost broken here, and it doesn't help that we don't really have a way up here without an elytra yet. Kinda need to connect down to there. But we do have a way across into the tower through the bridge, which is looking so very fun. And I have come inside and started working on the interior with a tree right in the center, of course, and some plant potters going all the way around. I wanted this like spiral effect here, so this one actually stops at a second level where we're going to install a bed right there. And then this route over to the far side will actually take you all the way up to the gardens that are fully decorated out with our big old table, and it's looking super fancy, and the big old flock of birds with all of the black candles over there I thought was so fun to add in. But I would like to actually build out the interior for this, so I've got a ton of different blocks on hand here, and I was thinking first and foremost I want to do a big table or desk, I guess, right over here that they can use. We'll wrap the bamboo signs along the front so it's just a little bit fancier, and then they're just gonna get a mangrove chair right there. Now, over on this side, we're going to start installing some storage elements that I would like to probably extend something like this, and then we'll just alternate our bookshelves so we can fill those guys in. And I thought it'd be kind of fun, well, just since you can use them as a cool, like, plushie or something. So they're going to have a decorative dried gas sitting there that's unfortunately going to be very sad. I wish he could be happy, but he can't be happy. He's just going to be sad. And then along the back, we have got these little planters installed, so I figured we could just throw some little bits of greenery in here and maybe a pale oak sapling along that guy. And then underneath our staircase right here, let's just throw in a door right like that for a little storage compartment that I think is going to be spawn proof, but we'll throw 2 candles in just to be safe. Now, on their actual desk, I figured a brewing stand could be kind of cool there, and then we'll just give them a few candles to help light this side up a touch more. And since I'm thinking about lighting right now, glow lichen on these 4 corners could probably help us out a bit. Finish off this side over here, we've got some spruce slabs that we can bring in, and then trap doors. They're just gonna hide the gross stone that I have up above. And we'll just repeat this to the far side too. Where, speaking of the far side, we don't have any wither roses anywhere yet, so I thought they could have a cool little wither rose garden over here that they're maintaining. And it is going to be nighttime, so I might as well go place these down. But they get a big old double bed in their little bedroom up here. Oh, it's gonna be so nice. Where they did kind of had a hole in their wall, so we'll fix that. Decided to just work on the bedroom a little bit more, and I'd like to throw a spruce stair right there looking back, and we should be able to waterlog that without flooding everything. Perfect. And then a tube coral on top just for the pop of blue. I thought was fun. And then almost as like a curtain of sorts, I've added the pale hanging moss up above here, and then we can light these guys and then get rid of that. And I was thinking there, to make it look like these candles have been just melting all over it, we can change the tough brick out for some sandstone. Looks like wax is just completely covering the thing. And because it's my favorite flower and I might as well put it here, I want to put alliums along everything for like all of these steps just going up along all of the tough brick. I'm just throwing in alliums everywhere. But that would mimic over to there for where we put the candle in, so let's do that again. And I think I can get rid of most of the torch spam I had around. Now this right here is a big focal point as we're coming in, so I thought we could do a cool shrine of sorts, and I'm thinking an amethyst cluster, and then we'll just do cactus flower, and it looks kind of fancy. Something going on over there. Right, I think we have sufficiently filled up this space with a lot in here, and it's looking really cool now. More storage back in this corner with our garden. And eventually, I do want to take it down farther and do a big old research lab down at the lair with those windows. But that's going to be a future fWhip problem, as I'm already really happy with how the Headmaster's tower has turned out, and we need to refocus our attention on the main school buildings as well. There are a few bare places I need to fill in. Before that though, I've really got to fix up my wings, as I have so many things that I have to gather now, and it's gonna require so much flying. I should probably bring my ender chest though. That's probably smart. So we can head on down into the nether to the Wither Skeleton Farm. Go, my minecarts, go. This is where all my blackstone went. Wow, I left a lot of junk down here. 2 minutes later, everything's fixed up, and my bone shulker box is running a little low, so I might as well restock it, as I think I've got a few. And we're overflowing. Well, I guess I don't need iron doors in there. Yeah, oh gosh, I brought a lot of stuff back, and I forgot to bring food back. Oh man. It's been about 2 hours, and I've relocated the storage over here instead of over there. And I also filled up with a ton of stuff that we can use for decorating out all of the different greenhouses. I've got so many materials back here, so much stuff. Where I want to first get started with the greenhouse on the northern side. Every one of these will feature a certain vibe. First off, we're starting with more of a classroom built into a greenhouse for hands-on learning for the basic fundamentals of foliage care. Think of this as Foliage University 101. Foliage University hoodies are mandatory uniform for attending this class, of course, but things are looking awesome in here. I also threw in a little dead bush over here, so that maybe things don't go right on the first try, but that's okay. So we got a big old pile of plants back here, pitcher pods, leaves growing out of our different pots that we have, mixing in a few pieces of terracotta just to give some variety, so it's not just like decorative pot, give some more shading difference. We've got a structure built up here for plants to be growing all the way around this, and I even threw in a waterlogged mangrove root underneath so I could put our sugarcane in, which looks so good. The lights still work at nighttime. We've got some leaves hanging over the piping for what would be the sprinkler system, and a bunch of bamboo growing up here in the corner that I topped off with string and then bone meal to grow up to its height. So I think that one will still be able to grow up one more there, and it gives a cool element of that back corner. And I'm really a big fan of how this entire thing turned out. It definitely needs a bit of a classroom down here, but you know, that's a future me problem. I've got more greenhouses to build, like the one above the kitchen. For the rooftop greenhouse, I thought it made sense with our close proximity to the kitchen below that everything planted here is edible, whether in Minecraft or at least something that could be edible IRL, or just, you know, I thought it looked cool in the spot, so in lore it's now safe to eat. We have an explosion of color up here with our tomato bushes. Yes, these are tomatoes. No, definitely not a rose bush. That is the new tomato plant in Minecraft. Just don't pick it up or break it. It's tomatoes. You just very hard to get. You can't move them. So here we have our barrel of tomatoes, We've got some beetroots, we've got some melons and some herby bushes growing up over here. We got our jungle leaves that kind of look like they have fruit on them when you're in the colder biomes. That makes it really pop out here. So being in the mountain biome with colder leaf texture. Then we've got these little saplings of sorts that might be growing up. We've got some carrots and potatoes split along here. We've got our sunflower seeds. We've got sugar cane. We've got alliums that are definitely... Well, alliums IRL, I'm pretty sure, like a type of onion. So, like, kind of. I know I've retextured mine as heather, but, like, it could be, you know? Crimson roots, definitely something that'd be very edible. We use them out in New Papyrus as, like, a saffron plant, even though it doesn't look realistic. Then back here, we've got a resin fruit tree of sorts, some sort of orange or something with big old barrel full. And then we've got some wheat growing out over here with some of our pumpkins, and it's looking really cool. I absolutely love how this one came out. It's so tight and just full in here. With our heating system coming up from the kitchens, we have a little bit of smoke popping out every once in a while. It just brings the whole thing together. But we still have one more to do on the far side of the dining hall. This needs a lot more love in here. More plants going in and some trees to fill in the corners. We have our final greenhouse filled out. I've designed this one as more of a retreat, something that people could get away from the craziness of the university for just a quiet moment, or at least hang out in before walking back into the grand hall for food. And it's looking a little worse for wear in here currently. There was a creeper a moment ago. Oh, never just jump down. Bad idea. Okay, well, yeah, definitely we need to do something in here. Step 1, torch. Step 2, we need a new floor in here so I can actually move around. And re-torching this for now so we don't repeat creepers spawning inside. Then around the corners, I want to build some large pillars to give this more of a grand feeling to support the ceiling, as we do have a rooftop that we also need to be building up soon. The pillars will help add a little bit of realism to all of it. Then with a simple dark oak roof thrown in on top, curving across, that helps it feel a little bit larger in here with the darker tone, still keeping our skylights with our little bit of glow liking in. This will definitely feel more drastic as we add a lot more stuff down here, but you can see I've also framed the windows with our diorite and done this kind of overgrown overhang down here with ferns in the pots and then a bunch of flowering azalea leaves. And I would love to get rid of the torch lighting we have down here, but speaking of which, I want to add some big chandeliers hanging down from the ceiling. Of course, going for an overgrown theme here, as this is the Foliage University and it's got to be on brand. Walking in from the main tower, this is looking really cool up top now. I've got this staircase that you might have seen fully built out now with a little bit of storage along the back here and some paintings that's looking pretty good. I think it'll fit the space fairly well, but we got a big grand ballroom feel right now, and we need to turn this into a mess hall, a cafeteria, like a fancy one though, where all the students can come through and eat. And I figured we would start up here with the top table that I think we're just going to make out of spruce with a bunch of slabs running across, and we'll have some stairs right over here to help kind of frame it out a little bit better. And then to get some lighting back in here before we get too much darkness in, I do want to, can I place this from down there? Yes. I've been really enjoying putting green candles on the top of these, as I just think it looks really cool. And once the copper trapdoors, copper lightning rods are able to age down, it could look even cooler. We'll wrap the front of this here with some stairs just to block it off a little bit so people aren't just staring at the feet of the people sitting at the upper table all the time. And I'd like to have some pretty fancy seats up here. We are on an even width, so I'm gonna leave the middle two open so that we don't have a weird offset to it. And then we're gonna put our doors right behind with some signs to just give it a little bit more of a headrest. Our extremely fancy plates going in. And in the middle, I felt like it belongs to have a few of our acacia saplings in here just to kind of go back to the big giga tree outside. The world tree needs to have a bit of a presence. Or we can have even larger presence with, yes, another interior tree. I know, I really like my interior trees here. To help this one be a little bit brighter, I did throw a frog light up top, and I actually have a frog light under there and one underneath this guy just to give ourselves some backlighting. I don't think it actually comes through the slab. No, it doesn't. Whatever, it can stay though. That's looking pretty good for the head table though. We need more than just a head table here, however, so I went through adding in a ton of tables for the students to sit at, with some extra lighting around to keep the entire space mob safe and still keep the good vibes in. Where I've turned on the shaders, and check this out. Oh, it's so beautiful in here. We've got so many tables and chairs, and it's just looking awesome. A little god ray peeking in. Look at that. Look at that little beam of light, especially from the greenhouse. Oh, I haven't looked at that yet. Look at that. Oh, it's beautiful. Back into default Minecraft now, however, and things are looking pretty good in here. Every single table has some sea pickles, a plant, and some candles around, just for some good vibes. I've hidden a few firefly bushes around here too, so that we can get some particles floating around, just to kind of keep that magical-y element in here, which is looking absolutely amazing. I'm super happy with how this space has turned out, but we need to keep moving up. Well, actually back down, because there's no way up there quite yet, as I would like to design this garden. The last garden of the entire university is going to be sitting up here on top of the roof. I've decided up here I want to make it a bit of a forested picnic area vibe with a lot of flower pots around to bring in even more of that nature, but mostly as a space for people to sit outside and enjoy the garden. Maybe as like a lunch spot instead of sitting in the hall below, so be a little quieter. Outside of that, I turned the little tower into a sapling growing room. And who needs stairs to get up top when you have an elytra? Yeah, I'm not just putting off doing the interior in here. No, definitely not avoiding the library. Nope, not at all. Up top, however, is a very fun spot, and I like how all of the trees break up the flat balcony that we had, just to add a little bit more to the skyline of the university. But even without that, I'm gonna say it again, I really like how this space has come together, especially a little room in here for growing all the different sapling types I thought was really cute. And then we got this little rose garden room in here where there's a private table where you can just sit around and have a spot with some friends and just some bushes to kind of block off that angle there too. And with that part done, I've taken the time to clean up the entire mess of shulker boxes from down here, and we can finally see this space without a mess. Oh, it's so much more open in here. I love it. That is the entire upper section done for the Foliage University. We still have a few interiors left to complete up here, but I have already spent well over 100 hours building this section, and even more time spent planning out the builds in creative before even starting on this in survival. I've talked about making this thing for over 2 years, and finally seeing it in the world is just absolutely amazing. I'm smiling ear to ear right now. Check out the limited edition Foliage University merch if you have not already. It'll be around for another week or so before it's gone forever. And when I get around to doing the interiors as a thank you for picking up the merch, I'll be picking people who have ordered it at random to add around the university to be students or professors. The final expansion to the Foliage University is going to take us below the cliffs to the underside, as we need a place to showcase the mushrooms and aquatic plants of Minecraft. I have put so much into this project, so if you have enjoyed, please click that like button and subscribe if you're new. But with that, I'll catch y'all on the fWhip side.